So you found the skeleton. How would you tell if it dies? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dapper Reacts. We already have a drink on the board because I forgot to switch over to the actual stream start soon with the counter on it. But that's okay. I am here, Maddie is here. I've got a martini made with one of my favorite gins, which is unusual for me because normally I just grab like the most generic of gins and then I make a gin and tonic, which is going to be pretty tonic and lime forward. But this time I've splurged, and I bought 750 milliliters of gin for $35, which for me is a lot more than I normally pay.
What kind of gin?
Hendrix.
Oh, I do like Hendrix.
Yeah. So I've got that, a couple olives, and those are in a martini glass. And so I am taking very small sips because this is a glass of gin. Because the amount of anything else in here is pretty negligible. There is
fair
gin, and then there's a dash of dry vermouth, and there is 1 bar spoon full of olive brine that I put in the shaker before I stirred it up. So it is technically a dirty martini in a very technical sense. So yeah. As far as other stuff goes, Maddie, how you doing?
I'm doing so good. Dapper, I have a question because we might already have another Dapper as a professional moment, and I'm excited because I'm drinking a Sam Adams winter ale, and it's pretty good. Is this show called Dapper Reacts now, or is this still Matt with Maddie?
I have no idea why you would ask such a thing.
Yeah.
Because it clearly says Matt with Maddie, actually. Why do you say Dapper Reacts?
Because you said this is Dapper Reacts when you were introducing the show.
Oh, I did say that, didn't? Well, I believe you that I said that. I don't remember saying it, but I'll take another drink.
We're friends. Hey, speaking of that, you guys, on this Tuesday night stream, with various hosts and whatnot, we live debunk some of just the bottom of the barrel young Earth creationist nonsense. And to keep ourselves a little saner and have a little fun, we turned it into a drinking game. Hey, if you're gonna play along, know your limits, right? I'm taking sips of beer, right? Not shots. Also, you can play along with, like, not alcohol, right? It's just fun. But if you do choose to play with an intoxicating substance, we recommend afterwards, hey, don't drive. Don't operate heavy machinery. Don't text your ex. Don't make any major life decisions, maybe, possibly, right? And just be safe. Okay, cool.
For $10, the deplorable elk for 100 Argentinian pesos, not for $10, that's about 7 cents, says, the first time I'm playing with my dad's homemade non-alcoholic wine, which is basically grape juice with extra steps, and it's delicious. Well, I'm glad it's delicious. And those extra steps do matter. Wine is not just grapefruit that hasn't been fermented yet. There are a whole lot of other things that go into wine that make it taste a whole lot different than just a bunch of grape juice.
Yeah, also you just called it grapefruit. That's a different fruit.
You know what? Grapes are fruit, and I'm okay with it. And English is weird and dumb.
Long ago, did you start in on your martini?
I've had 2 sips.
Okay,
but it
checking.
It is just a pile of gin. I want to make that clear. This is just a pile of gin.
I need everybody to know that even if you can't hear it, I can. On this baby monitor, I can hear my daughter listening to... She got a Tony for Christmas, which is great. It's like a great screen-free toy. It's like an audio player, right? And you have little different plastic figurines that you can put on the top, and it magnets to it and causes it to tell the story associated with that little figurine. And she is listening to a Peppa Pig one right now, and I can hear all of it.
Yay!
So
we'll distract your ears with the dulcet tones of Raw Matt soon.
Yay! Hey, this is a part of the show where I try to remember all the drinking rules off the top of my head. Are we ready for that?
It sure is, and I am ready for it. Go ahead.
Okay.
We've already seen one.
Hey, number 1, Dapper's a professional. Whenever Dapper himself, him Ceratosaur self
Mhm.
makes a legitimate mistake in like the production, then we take a drink for Dapper's professional. Acts of God or the cable company or the internet company don't count. Okay, and then after that, cool. So that's one, and then two. These are going to be the ways you all in chat can trigger drinks. So the first one on this part of the list is anytime anyone super chats something, to the gist of AIG is a bag of dicks. And I get most excited when you guys get clever with alliteration. That's my favorite. That's the Matt with Maddie special. We'll take a drink anytime anybody does that. We'll also take a drink anytime anyone super chats the Godzilla, Mothra, or King Ghidorah emojis. That we will take a drink for each Dapper membership, gifted membership, until it gets up to an absurd number, at which point we just finish our drink and go get another. Okay, so that's 4.
Which is dangerous
things that
for
I've
me
said.
because this is, again, just a pile of gin.
That's really dangerous for you. I'm glad you're home. You know?
Yeah, I am too. I would not be able to drive anywhere after this.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 4 things. And then we'll also take a drink anytime like Mothra comes by audibly.
Or Godzilla.
Or Godzilla. Either time any of those come by audibly. So listen for those, friends, and I'll take a drink for that. Okay. Are those all the ways chatters can trigger?
I believe you did cover all of them, yes.
Okay, so then let's go to the ways Raw Matt can trigger them. 1, anytime he says something so stupid, we just have to cool off our brains. 2, also anytime he says something that's factually correct without quoting it. It has to be a real piece of knowledge that comes out of his own brain and out his mouth. 3, anytime a particular political party out of Germany that's unfortunately relevant in the former United States of America right now, we're gonna drink for any time that one comes up. And this is more of the other Matt thing, but the other Matt brings up school shootings a lot. So anytime we do that, or just a hard, weird transition to talking about trans folks.
Yeah, that. With the other Matt, that comes up a lot. With this Matt,
It comes up a lot.
less so, but like, not never, but my goodness, Matt Powell, he will be talking about like the proper amount of time to brush his teeth, and then suddenly he'll be like, and that's why men can't become women, and this whole trans thing is nonsense. And it's like, okay, cool, thanks, Matt. Love that.
Cool story, bro. Yeah. And then, yeah, so like that one's weird. But we'll do that one. We'll take a drink anytime there's a Trojan source. That is, anytime someone or Matt quotes a source and then we look it up, and not only does that source not support the point he said it supports, but actively contradicts it. This often comes about because they read the first line of the abstract and nothing else.
Yep.
The reading comprehension is just low.
I feel like that one's a dishonesty thing, because some of the creationists who do that know better.
Okay, with Ramat, I would assume it's a reading comprehension issue.
Yeah, for him, sure.
To be honest. Yeah.
Ramat has just a general comprehension problem, so, like, I'm sure reading comprehension is part of that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll also take a drink anytime Lucy is confused with one of the larger taxonomic groups she is a part of. So, like, we can't know that... What's her species?
Australopithecus afarensis.
So we can't know that Australopithecus afarensis had something about their foot because we don't even have Lucy's feet. And we're like, but we have other members of the same species, right? So that's one we drink for. And that one, but we only do that one once, because once it comes up once, it comes up a lot. And we have to get through, we've got 2 hours of this. And we can't just be asleep on the floor for it. That's not entertaining for anyone. Okay.
I mean, there are Twitch streamers who've gotten money just streaming themselves in bed, sleeping.
That's weird.
It is weird, but Twitch is weird.
Twitch is weird, and people are weird,
yeah.
Right? Okay.
I mean, Belle Delphine sold her bathwater, so like, who knows how the internet works?
See, I get that one, and it's gross. right?
I don't get it. And it's still gross, and I don't want to have anyone try to explain it.
I really feel like, yeah. I feel like that's partially because you're not a woman, and you don't understand how fundamentally creepy men are. But anyway, hey, cool. Okay. What are other things that trigger drinkings?
Let's see. We've also got if there's a confirmed prediction. If
Yes, confirmed
Matt
prediction.
says
Oh.
something that's just so stupid,
Shower
we
thought.
have to get our brains to cool off a little bit. If he says something that's actually factually accurate, if he tells a joke that doesn't land or tells a story that didn't happen, that one's a bit of a judgment call, but that's okay. And then Trojan source. If Matt cites a source, which he won't because he never does, but if he does, and we check the source, and not only does the source fail to support him, which it will, unless it's a creational source, but it actively contradicts him, then we call that a Trojan source. We take a drink for that. Also, the previous one about Lucy, we call that ad hominid, and it can only happen once per show. Because once it happens once, it's just going to keep on happening. So we limit that one. And we got a few super chats in here. So Goopdo3 for $5 says, can we get a drink for the first stream I'm watching from my new apartment? You know what? I should demand that you had put like a Godzilla or a Mothra or something, but congratulations, and I'm very happy for you. So we're going to take a drink anyway. So here we go.
Yeah.
Take a little sip of martini.
I'm so sorry, but I'm getting a very loud "Hey, mommy" through the baby monitor. So I'm gonna go take a quick peek, and I'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's see. We've also got for 200 Argentinian pesos from the Deplorable Elk. It's summer here, so stores are selling AIG, that is bags of ice. Yeah, gross. I have no idea how to make this joke work, but F ice in the bad sense. Yes. All right, so the last thing we have to go over is we do have a super chat goal. It is for 30 super chats of the teal variety or higher, which means if you send in a 2 USD super chat, it will not work. So that one, if we get it, for one thing, I will unleash the F-bombs for my guest, as well as myself, I suppose. But it's Maddie, and Maddie is not one to drop a lot of F-bombs normally. So there is also a poll up. And if we get the 30 super chats, we will get whatever it is that people vote for. The options are currently, or well, just are, English as she is spoke. That means we will do a quick reading from the wonderful English phrase book, English as she is spoke, or a just and sober earnest. So that right there is basically, it's one of the most comically bad attempts to do a phrase book for English that has ever been imagined. The next one is I wear a suit on Saturday, which means I will appear in my human suit, in a suit, on top of the human suit. And then last, I explain why I'm not a linguist, which is self-explanatory. I will explain why I'm not a linguist. Now, if we get either English as she spoke or I explain why I'm not a linguist, we'll take a quick break from whatever we're doing to do that real quick. It won't last the whole show unless it's very late in the show that we get it. So that's that. And also, Bent has told me that he hopes that he gets pizza because he's very hungry today. He has not had pizza in a very long time. So, if we can get this to, I think, about 89% on the little thermometer here, I think we'll get Bent gets pizza at around that point. Not exactly sure where on there it is. So, there you go. It looks like Maddie is back, so I will turn her camera back on.
Oh. Hi, friends.
That way they don't know that you're not wearing pants.
Oh, yeah, right. I forgot about that.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, team. My husband is a little under the weather and like finally asleep. And so I'm soloing it today, and she's been in bed for over an hour, if you're wondering. And still awake. And every once in a while, she just needs to make sure that if she needed me, I would come. And so she tests out our signal word of "Hey, mommy."
That's a very clever signal word.
It's very clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arrow Dodger for $4.99 says, "This mat is raw!" Which, thank you very much. I do. That is a good reference.
Yeah.
We don't get a whole lot of celebrity chef references here on this channel, do we?
No.
No.
But you know, I think Gordon Ramsay would be very disappointed with how undercooked Matthew is.
He really would be. Actually, it reminds me, so I don't know if you know who Banya is, but she has been on the channel before. And of course, she is Indian, and she was born and raised in India. And so I horrified her with me just letting her know that Jamie Oliver, the British celebrity chef, has a butter chicken recipe, which is, a very famous dish from India. And you know what ingredient his butter chicken recipe lacks, Maddie?
Chilies?
No. Much more basic than that.
Chicken?
No, it has chicken. It just doesn't have butter.
Oh.
It's butter chicken that has no butter in it. And so, yeah, I told Manya that, and she threatened to not ever speak to me.
Oh, no.
Yeah. She was very not happy to hear that there was someone who had made butter chicken with no butter. And it was like, well, it should be ghee, really. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have ghee either. You think Jamie Oliver went and got ghee for his butter chicken? No.
Well, because Jamie Oliver's thing is like, let's make it healthy, but like that's not butter chicken. Calm down.
Right. Like at a certain point, like you can't be lying to people. Like, this is butter chicken that doesn't have any butter.
You just made a separate dish that's like inspired by Indian spices.
Look,
right?
A curry chicken is a fine dish to make. Just don't lie to me and tell me it's a butter chicken when it doesn't have butter.
Yeah. Or at least have the decency to call it butterless butter chicken, right? Like
it seems like fat-free half and half. And then I say, like, okay, but isn't cream defined by the fat content?
Yeah. Oh, it should be. I can't believe it's not butter chicken.
There you go. That's a good one. All right, Grievous for $5 says, but Depper, you are a linguist. Pretend this is a mobile Bothra. You know what? I will pretend, and that's fine because I figure you're on mobile, which makes emojis virtually impossible. So I'll take a drink.
Amazing.
No, I am not. And if we get enough votes for I will explain why I'm not a linguist, and we reach the goal, I will tell you why I'm. And then for $20, Lance Hall says, thank you for what you do. Well, thank you for being here and helping to support the channel, because
I'm just gonna cheers Lance Hall. Like, cheers, man.
It is. I'm gonna be honest. This is the best job I've ever done.
Yeah.
But there are times when I am like, I don't know if this is like, can I keep actually doing this? Because like, you get so much stupid, and then you realize that the stupid isn't just stupid for the sake of being wrong. It's stupid for the sake of the rise of fascism. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a whole aspect of this, isn't it? Like, it's not a coincidence that AIG hosted a Christian nationalist, complementarian, white nationalist cult meeting, convention, like, several speakers from this cult at the Ark Encounter. It's not just for pretensies.
And that's why AIG is a big, bulging bindle of bacula, thanks to Pegajace the Darwin mythicist.
Thank you very much, and we will take a drink for that. All right, so when last we were here,
you guys could see the moment I saw that chat and got really excited because it was I had an inappropriate emotional reaction to what Dapper was saying.
It's all right. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's listen to some of this.
Yeah. So when last we were here, Matt was telling us how the reason that we don't have human fossils and have so few primate fossils, even though that's not really true, is that the primates, along with the humans, because he doesn't think humans are primates because he's an idiot,
right?
Lived in the lowlands. And so when the first mega sequence of the flood was laid down, the Tejas mega sequence, it just ground all those bones to dust. He doesn't explain why that didn't happen to like the other land animals that include things like scorpions, which you would think would be even more fragile than like the femur bone of a human, like a scorpion. But like preserved footprints from that time period, like which should be way, way more fragile than a human skeleton. He doesn't explain any of that, but that's just what he's gonna go with. That's why, and it doesn't work with any of his other flood explanations. But you know what? In isolation, that one kind of almost makes sense if you don't think about it too much. So he's basically doing the Flurf thing, right? Where every explanation for any phenomenon that doesn't seem to make sense on a flat Earth is given an ad hoc explanation, and that ad hoc explanation contradicts all the other aspects of that flat Earth model that this person is trying to suppose. But they don't notice because they don't care. So it just doesn't occur to them that's happening.
That's Dabra, I also thought of another super chat goal we could implement if you don't want to talk about not being a linguist. I could read you some of the Facebook posts of my actual real life congressman, and you guys can help me cyberbully him.
I do like that. Although right now, English as she is spoke, I believe, is winning. And Maddie, have you ever experienced English as she is spoke?
I don't know if I was on stream or if I was listening to a Dapper Reacts when you were talking about it. I think you were talking about it with Vish and Kip, and I was
because we did do a reading for them.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to hear more of it, right now we could do it. All right, so we're gonna hit play here, and we're gonna get some raw mat. And remember, this video has over 1 million views. Just putting that out there. Olivia Williams, purple. I'm not sure what the rest of it is because my stupid window is short. Purple Fairy for 5 beaver bucks says, with the stupidity of Matt, the need to facepalm or face desk can be overwhelming. I have to ask a ceratosaur, how does a ceratosaur manage that? Well, it helps when like you just physically can't. Like my arms don't reach my forehead, so like I just don't have to worry about that. And as far as face desking, like that would just break the desk, so it's not. Plus, it would require me to like stoop a bit, so like yeah, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
They're extremely rare. Matter of fact,
they are primate fossils.
The first one to ever be found was in 2005, and it was just a few teeth.
Okay, that's a chimpanzee, not primate.
Well, I mean, it is a primate.
Like, but yeah, but like the first chimpanzee fossil is not the same thing as the first primate fossil.
Exactly. Which I'm
also
gonna take a drink for. That's incredibly dumb.
Also, wouldn't we expect chimpanzee fossils to be rare because chimpanzees are a relatively young species?
Not for that reason. It's primarily because they live in forests, and forests are horrendous for fossilization. So basically, in order for something to fossilize, right, the rate of deposition of whatever it's buried in has to exceed how fast it's going to rot, so that it will actually be covered in whatever sediment and not currently being eaten by something before it finishes decaying, so that there's actually something to permineralize.
Okay.
The problem is forests have astoundingly high rates of decomposition because the place is full of insects and fungi and scavenging animals and all sorts of stuff. So, like, if you leave, say, a body out in, like, the Sahara, it's probably going to be there for thousands of years. In fact, we have thousands of year old bodies of even humans out in the Sahara that are just out there, right? In fact, it seems like the introduction of mummification to Egypt happened because I guess you could call them the proto-Egyptians or the pre-Egyptians if you're raw Matt. Basically noticed that when they buried their dead out there, they just didn't rot away. And so there was something going on. And so then they developed techniques later. But on the other hand, you put a body out in the woods, days, and it's gone. Completely gone.
There's a thing that will even speed that up. That's called human composting. So you can and it's a process, like it sounds really gross, but it's a very green way to dispose of your remains, and you can become part of a forest, which is really cool. But it's a speed up of it's a part of a process that is really commonly used in like agricultural settings, where they like have the remains of, say, a cow that's been butchered, right? And then they have a process that really quickly breaks it down into nothing, and then they use it as fertilizer.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And also, it's a process that if you're ever scared of being buried alive, it's all the microbes don't eat living material. So if you're alive, they won't eat you, and you won't decompose because you're alive. And you can just be like, hey, let me out. And then they would. The end.
Well, that's good of them.
Yeah. It's only legal in Oregon, I think. That feels like the place it would be legal.
Yeah, that does feel like a place where it would be legal. I could see Washington.
Did you miss a
No, we just haven't gotten to it.
Oh, okay, because I'm excited about this one.
Okay. Well, Renee Reborn over and over and over for $5 says, AIG is a supremely stuffed satchel of shafts. And
Yay!
They sure are, and we will take a drink. Thank you very much. Then there is a membership chat from Ian Debunked, who's been a member for 26 months and is at the Tetrapod level, and says, great new vid and early access, subscribe and watch. You have to do more than subscribe. You actually have to join the channel or the Patreon. The Patreon is linked in the description if you want to do that. So, Yeah, or you could hope that someone is very generous and gives gifted memberships and that you're one of the lucky ones who gets it. Yeah. Jillian says, it is in fact here in Washington, so I'm going to assume that you mean it is in fact legal here in Washington. Well, there you go. Alright, I'm going to hit play.
When God stopped the fountains of the great deep on day 150, the new ocean surface began cooling.
You know what the Bible doesn't say is that, as far as I remember, but maybe it does, and I'm just not remembering it well. I don't really care, but whatever.
Also, I don't think this doesn't sound good, because the fountains of the deep, the image you just showed on screen is magma.
Yep.
Right? But the fountains of the deep are supposed to be water. Mm-hmm. Like, in the Bible, they're water. Mm-hmm. And didn't earlier in this video, Matt talk about the fountains of the deep being water?
So Matt's problem is that he can't differentiate between two creationist flood models, one of which is catastrophic plate tectonics, which is basically just regular plate tectonics, except on, like, literally times a billion.
Yeah.
With all of the problems that would cause. You can't separate that out from hydroplate, which is different and involves subterranean oceans that are held up by granite pillars that for some reason collapse, causing the crust to, like, slam down onto them, causing, like, hypersonic jets of water that go off into space.
Okay.
And so the original hydroplate idea was that, like, oh, the oceanic ridges, maybe that's actually the remains of these, which, like, we know isn't the case because we know what they are. They're basically a string of volcanoes that are pushing apart plates. But Walt Brown is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the hydroplate guy. And Raw Matt is so dumb that he can't tell the difference between these two.
Gotcha.
So any liquid that's coming up from below the crust, that must be the floodwater and magma whenever it's convenient for him to be either one.
I would like everyone to know that what's currently coming out of the baby monitor is my daughter crying and saying the name of her best friend.
Aww.
She told me when I popped in earlier that she was so sad because insert friend's name wasn't here.
Well, that is like, sad.
Yeah, you can see her tomorrow at school if you go to sleep. But we're going to cry about it instead.
Okay, well, maybe she'll fall asleep while crying, and then she'll be awake and can go see her friend.
There you go.
Problem solved. Look at that. I'm solving problems.
Yeah. Man, I challenge you to make an argument to a 3-year-old.
I mean, I've tried. Never really successfully, but then again, the neat thing about 3-year-olds is they can't really do anything about not being convinced. They just have to deal with the fact that the world isn't going to be the way that they think it should be.
Yeah.
And they don't have much recourse.
Except throwing themselves on the ground and screaming.
But you don't have you could just let them do that.
She doesn't do that. She's only done that once or twice ever.
Okay.
But anyway.
Yeah, see, now, to be fair, I don't have my own 3-year-old, but when I have dealt with 3-year-olds, which I have, my general response to a tantrum is to just be like, okay, there you go, have fun. I'm like, because what am I going to do? I'm not going to stop the tantrum, nor is me caring about it going to discourage them from future tantrums. So as long as they're not hurting themselves or anyone else, it's one of those that's like, all right, cool, later.
Yeah. It's really helpful if once they start, just be like, I'm going to continue doing what I was doing. I'm going to go to the kitchen and get this. Mm-hmm. And then when you leave the room, they get real confused.
Yeah. Look, you're supposed to be paying attention to me. I'm screaming.
Yeah, I'm screaming. Look, I'm being very dramatic. I swear, at Christmas, so she says can't with a British accent because of Peppa Pig. So she says can't. And we were at my father-in-law's house, and I told her to do something, and she threw herself onto the couch, hand to forehead.
So dramatic.
I can't.
Oh no.
It was so bad.
Oh. I'll hit play.
Okay.
Allowing floodwaters to lower as they sheeted off the continents into the new ocean basins.
Okay, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let me try to get this process right.
Yeah.
So God is spewing water up through the fountains of the Great Deep, right?
And also magma.
But really what we're mostly concerned with, I think, is the water, right? Mm-hmm. So then he stops doing that. and then that makes the water volume go down, apparently. But where does the water go
No,
in
it
order for
doesn't-
it to go down?
I don't think he thinks the water volume went down. I think he thinks that in the spreading of the continents, right, in that process, I think he thinks that the Earth got bigger. Because that's what he just described, right? He just described the water now sinks back into the newly formed ocean basins, right? That's implying that,
So
we made a bucket where there didn't used to be a bucket.
So you think he thinks the radius of the Earth got bigger?
Well, that's what he said implies. However, remember, he did talk about subduction earlier. So,
Okay, so then where does the new mass come from? Because, unless there's just giant voids in the mantle, which we know there aren't, you can't just add to the radius of the Earth without increasing its mass.
I would love to hear Ramat explain that, because he's been saying mutually contradictory things.
Hey, Matt, I know that occasionally you're around on the channel. You noticed when I accurately called you an academic fraud for pretending that your paper was published by a actual journal when it absolutely was not. So you might actually be watching this. Please explain to us, are you saying that water magically disappears, or are you saying that mass is magically added to the planet to make its radius increase? And if you're saying neither of those, then what the hell are you saying?
What are you saying?
Yeah.
What is this supposed to mean? Or does he think that, the ocean, it's so much lower?
Maybe that is it. But how would that be caused? By just shutting off some volcanoes that are also spewing water somehow?
Yeah, how does doing this make this? I don't understand.
Maybe he's like, oh, the mountains went up. But the mountains, compared to the overall, surface relief of the Earth, they're basically meaningless, right? Earth is way more smooth than a cue ball or a pool table. So, when you're like, oh, the mountains became a little bit higher, it's like saying, oh, I added a little grain of sand on top of one of these cue balls, and then I cut it in half. Okay, cool. That is almost entirely meaningless. So, Matt, let us know. Let us know if you ever watched this.
The average depth of the ocean, not talking about, the Marianas Trench, right?
Right.
But, on average, the depth of the ocean isn't...
I mean, I don't know.
I'm pausing because I'm afraid I'm going to say something that sounds dumb. Average depth of the ocean versus average, height of mountains. What's that comparison?
I mean, I think the average... So, I don't know. I don't know how you would define a mountain in order to get an average, right? Because that's one of the problems with figuring out things about mountains. Is is that a hill or a mountain? It's is it a creek or a stream? I don't know. There's not a hard definition that I can use. Let's see. Grievous for $5 says, what does he think? Let me stop you right there. Another mobile pretend Mothra. Yeah, okay. That is a fair point, my friend. That is a fair point.
Okay. The average depth of the ocean is 3,682 meters. Okay. So then, let's look. I feel like let me find the average height of the Rocky Mountains.
Okay, I'm gonna hit play while you work on it.
Okay.
Psalms 104 describes.
Okay. I know it's not a big deal. It's not Psalms 104. It's Psalm 104. The book of Psalms is a collection of psalms, each of which is a psalm. Each number is a different psalm. It's not Psalms 104. It's not Revelations 3:2 or whatever. It's Revelation, or you could go with Apocalypse if you prefer Greek over Latin.
Yeah. Friends, I'm wrong. On average, the ocean is about 1,000 meters deeper than at least the average height of the Rockies.
Okay.
And the Rockies are they're not the tallest, they're not the shortest, is what I was thinking of for a quick Google search.
Okay. But yeah, just, guys, if you're going to cite the book of Psalms, phrasing is Psalm, then the number, 23, then the verse. And then you can say whatever verse it is. Not Psalms.
Add the S to Psalm in the same way you would add an S to the songs in a songbook.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not Songs 3, it's Song 3.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why, right? But if some rando on the street was like, "Oh, hey, what's your favorite chapter in Psalms?" And then they were like, "Well, mine is Psalms chapter 4." I'd just be like, "Yeah, whatever, man. I don't care." But the thing that bugs me is that these guys, creationists, are pretending to be experts on the Bible and science and history and archaeology and biology. And so it's like, dude, if you're going to pretend to be an expert on this stuff, get it right. Get the most basic stuff right. Don't tell me the Bible was written in pre-Yiddish and your favorite part of the book of Psalms is Psalms 42. Because I'm going to think that you don't know a damn thing. And the fact is that you don't, but maybe don't start off giving off the impression that you don't know a damn thing about anything you're talking about. Because one of the problems with Ramat is anyone who listens to him, anytime he ever touches on anything they know about, realizes that, well, this guy has no idea what he's talking about in the thing I know about. Here's the hint. He's like that for everything. The things you don't know about, he's just as bad. You just don't notice because you're not as good at that topic.
The mountains being raised at the end of the flood, and the waters draining down the valleys and off the new.
Okay, but that's the problem. Where did that water go? You showed it coming up away from the mountain. That's fine. But then what? Then where? I'm taking a drink. This is driving me crazy. The water just disappears.
Oh.
Also, I do like that the subducting crust still gets like the grass texture. That's fun. Also, when two continental plates push against each other, which is what he's displaying, they tend to crumple up rather than one subducting under the other because they have about the same density. A subduction like that happens when a continental plate runs up against an oceanic plate. And oceanic plates are made of basalt and not granite, and basalt is more dense than granite, so it sinks. So,
yeah, I was going to question this animation, but I know Ramat didn't make it.
Yeah, but whoever did, it didn't do a great job. Which makes me think it was another creationist.
Okay, yeah. Because the picture you should get for, like, how the Himalayas are currently forming is more, okay, two continental plates, they go like this, right? Yeah. And thus mountains.
Now, subduction...
versus subduction.
Subduction does cause mountains, because it'll cause upthrusts as well as volcanism on the continental crust. So, like, there are going to be mountains associated with. So that's where, like, the Andes and the Rockies come from, is from the subduction of various plates, including the Pacific plate, under the North and South American plates. So, like, it's going to cause mountains, just not the crumple mountains like the Himalayas.
Yeah. Land surfaces, the seafloor rifting process, and the resulting mountain forming process explains why sea creatures are found on mountaintops.
You know what, Matt? You're right. That is actually, why that's correct. That is why they're there. So good job, buddy.
Which is pretty great. At least he didn't say
they grew in
the reason we find
mountains.
Ocean fossils on top of mountains is because the flood was all the way up there.
Yeah, and they just grew in situ on the mountain.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? Credit where it's due, Matt. You're doing better than Kent Hovind ever has on this topic.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. I mean, Kent Hovind is a low bar. Although I do think that ethically, Ramat's doing better than Kent Hovind. I don't think Ramat has ever been convicted of beating a spouse.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I do think Ramat is probably doing harm, but it's like not as directly.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
indirect also,
and less acute.
Yeah, it's less acute. The main person Ramat is harming is Ramat.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you just look at him and you're like, dude, you look like the Grim Reaper. As has been said by one of the less public-facing members of the Science Friends, Ramat looks like Skeletor's misleading Tinder profile pic.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we're going to have a toddler join us. She's losing her mind. I'm going to go grab her.
All right. I'll turn your camera off for now.
Okay, thanks.
All right, here we go.
All over the world, high above current sea levels. For the remaining 220 days of the flood, the water recedes from the Earth, and it dries out, allowing time for the Earth to be replenished.
But Matt, you just salted the Earth in this model. The Earth is salted. It's going to take thousands of years to recover, if it ever can. This isn't like a 1 or 2 years, and oh, look, the plants are sprouting. I'll tell you what, take those same plants, take some ocean water, Mix it with about, I don't know, just, mix it equally with fresh water, which is completely ridiculous because, fresh water makes up a tiny proportion. And so in a global flood, it would have just mostly been ocean water. But, mix it 50-50. Then use that to soak the ground and then plant the seeds. See how they do. Unless you're doing like halophytes that live in brackish water, like, like dune grasses and whatnot from beaches, yeah, you're not going to get a whole lot of growth, Matt, because you salted the earth. The thing that armies used to do in ancient times to make sure that an enemy country couldn't bounce back because they couldn't grow crops anymore? More or less basically just a form of genocide from the ancient world? Yeah, that's what happened to all the soil. In fact, it's not even soil because it's been drowned for a year, which means it's just a bunch of sediment. Should I turn the camera back on there, Maddie?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, friends.
So, yeah, Matt, the Earth isn't going to bounce back in a year or two. It's probably never going to bounce back.
I see your friends.
You can't see my friends. They're talking right here in the chat. See? And this friend is a dinosaur.
Hello. All right, I'm going to hit play.
With vegetation for the animals to eat when they eventually come off the ark. This year-long...
Oh, I can't see your
I love this, like, in 1 year, the salted earth is going to produce enough vegetation for all the herbivores to get enough to eat, and then they're going to reproduce fast enough that the carnivores just don't make them extinct within that year, and it'll be fine, guys. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, talking through that.
A whole lot of the chat is saying hello to the small human.
Oh,
There is
look,
indeed
all
a
of
tiny
these
larva.
people are saying hi.
Oh, and YouTube. That's the small human's mom, so I obviously have her permission because it was her choice in the first place.
It was my choice to bring the small human on.
Look, I see turtles.
YouTube
See turtles? Yeah.
Let's see, Naramdaputs, who's been a member for 28 months, says, tiny human on camera. It's true.
Yeah.
All right, here we
I do
go.
have to look at
Oh,
this.
there's Mothra. Let's drink for Mothra.
Cheers.
What's Mothra?
And if you guys were wondering, yes, my daughter does. She did choose to wear her like fancy Christmas dress to bed tonight.
It's a valid choice.
Yeah.
Look, if I had a fancy Christmas dress, I can't say I wouldn't wear it to bed.
You're not playing dice.
We're not playing dice tonight.
Catastrophe
That's on Friday.
left behind a vast number of proofs that, quite frankly, make its occurrence obvious.
Ramat, if it's so obvious, I would love for you to have, in the last 34 minutes, have provided one shred of proof that stands up to even the smallest bit of scrutiny.
First, we have the staggering volume of fossil-bearing sedimentary rocks around the world. Over 1 mile thick on average, including billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth.
Direct Ken Ham quote. You gotta love it. Yeah.
That's a microphone. That is direct. And also, why is that evidence that they were all laid down at the same time or within a year of each other?
The fun thing is, it's not, because when you actually look at the strata, you realize, oh no, most of these couldn't be deposited in 1,000 years, never mind 1 year. So, if you've got strata that couldn't have been deposited in a year, but would take at least thousands of years, unless you've got some new stratification or deposition or something experiments, then in fact, it demonstrates, I guess I can't say it demonstrates that there was never a global flood. What it does demonstrate is that a global flood was not responsible for any significant amount of the fossil-bearing strata of the Earth, which would be weird if it had happened.
Right.
Right? That's one of the reasons why there was a tranquil flood idea bandied about as geology was coming to be a real thing. We were realizing, oh, we can't really explain virtually any of the Earth by attributing it to flooding. And so there was this idea that a lot of theologians came up with, like, well, maybe there was a tranquil flood. The floodwaters came up and drowned everything. They didn't really mix up the earth. They didn't spread a lot of sediment. They didn't cause a lot of erosion. It just then tranquilly went down after everything drowned. This fell out of favor with young Earth creationists, of course, because, well, that doesn't allow for a young Earth, because it still depends on an old Earth processes to get us the stratigraphic column and record of Earth. And of course, young Earth creationists are like, no, it has to be young. But in order for it to be young, then they have to use the flood to account for those strata, because otherwise, how the heck did they get there? The only other real option is, well, God just created them there in situ with the fossils that never were living things. And so that just means that God is tricking you, which is theologically uncomfortable for most people.
Do you want to go get axolotl?
Which is a little odd because, I mean, God lies in the Bible.
Yeah, he does.
Several times. So, like, I don't know, you could just accept that. But I get why a habitually lying, omnipotent being would be bad for, like, your philosophical, like, positions, right? It would make it hard for you to ever have any kind of epistemology if you believe that there's a habitual but omnipotent liar. So, like, I get it.
Yeah. But Satan's the father of lies, not God. So therefore, God never lied, actually.
Well, except, you know, that he definitely lies in the Bible, but okay.
And the sediment that they are found in lies above sea level. What sort of water process could place so much sediment above sea level?
Rivers, lakes, lagoons, seas, followed by uplift. You know, all the normal things, Matt. Literally all of the normal things.
On top of the land surfaces. Another clue is the vast horizontal extent of individual sediment layers, with little or no erosional channeling between successive layers.
Except that that's just not true. We have a lot of erosion between layers. In fact, famously, there's a formation in the Grand Canyon called the Surprise Canyon Formation. It's a paleo canyon that the Grand Canyon cuts through.
I can't see their faces.
Hannah is sad she can't see chat's faces.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. So Mommy and her friend Dapper are watching this video together because in this video, someone tried to play scientist and he didn't do a very good job. So we are pointing out where he could do better.
That's an extremely diplomatic way to put what is happening right now.
Yeah.
What
Hannah,
sort of transport and depositional process could conceivably generate such uniform layers over such vast horizontal distances?
Again, it's literally just rivers and lakes and lagoons and swamps and oceans. It's just all the normal things, Matt.
I like that microphone.
Yeah.
It's very fuzzy.
Hannah, you play scientist much better than Raw Matthew plays scientist. Yeah.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah. When we play scientist, Dapper, we get to mix baking soda and vinegar together.
Oh my goodness. Do you put any red food coloring in there so it looks like lava? Nice.
Yeah. There are hearts on that wall. Do you want to go see them? No? Okay. Okay.
Many of these layered beds are separated by bedding planes on the scale of inches to feet, a feature so common that if you stop to think about how it happened, it's as if the sediment is being deposited in pulses in a repeating manner, with each pulse producing a thin layer commonly found around the world.
Cool. So have you checked to see if all the cases where this happens, it's a high energy deposition as would be required for catastrophic flooding and for a pulse with tsunamis, which is what you've described before, Matt? Did you bother to check on that? Because I know you didn't. Because the answer is no. It's not typically high energy deposition. It's very frequently very low energy deposition. And what's actually happening is you're seeing an erosion period where things are eroded flat. You know, when things poke out of a general surface, they get eroded faster, which is why erosion smooths things out. There's also various planation processes that happen. For instance, water flowing in a river channel through very low relief terrain tends to meander, and over the course of centuries, that meandering will cover the entire plain and flatten it. So there are various planation processes which occur. And if these processes of erosion and planation occur, and then later are followed up by deposition, what you will get is a very, very flat contact between the lower strata and the higher strata, where the lower strata just seem to kind of just cut off one day. That's not actually because the deposition cut off that day in a very flat manner. It's because erosional processes happen. The very thing that Raw Matt says doesn't happen and that we don't find are the thing he's now using to say are evidence of his case that depends on us not finding these things. These are the erosion features that you're looking for, Matt. That's what we're looking at right now, is the erosion features you say aren't there. I'm taking a drink for that, because that is It's just so dumb. All right, let's see what else he's got for me. Oh, but first, Goop23 sends a cat super sticker for 149. Thank you very much. Let's add that in. All right,
You see a
there we
dragon? Yeah.
The flood tsunamis provide this perfect explanation, and it happened so quickly. There was no time between the deposition.
go. Those are very, very strong trees.
Don't know.
It's almost like the water simulation isn't interacting with whatever wind simulation is causing those branches to flex, which actually might not even be a simulation. Hey, pro tip: you want to do a devastating tsunami that's going to rip up forests and whatnot? Like, just set the trees to fall. It's not that hard. You can even keyframe it. Really, if you're lazy, you can just keyframe it. It's fine. You're like, oh, but I have this whole system set up where these are actually particles. All right, well, if you're using particle trees, then just derive the orientation, like the actual rotation of the trees based on time in the simulation and distance from the edge where the flood comes in. It's not that hard. It won't be perfect, but it will look better than this. Although the water simulation is pretty good. Grievous, who's been a member for 15 months, says the sediment is coming from inside the house. Thank you. It's a rage. 23, who's been a member for 26 months and is at the amniote level, says, I say the baby girl gets this stream's one free F word. With a bunch of disgusting pelagic tunicates. A Mothra, a Godzilla, a Ghidorah, a Sessile tunicate, an AIG's a bag of dicks, and a Vishanti, so I'll take a drink, sure. Sorry, Maddie, what was that?
And sometimes good mommies say bad words.
It's true.
Did you want to eat a chocolate? Yeah. Is
wanna
that
eat
gonna not
eat
help
a
you sleep
chocolate.
at all?
No, it won't.
Position layers for
Listen,
surviving
I got a
critters to
stack of
burrow
York
into the
Mints
ground
of,
and turn
some
them
of this.
over. This is known as bioturbation. This is another major problem for long-scale evolution. You see, when living creatures burrow into the ground, they leave behind evidence that they did this.
That's true, we'll take a drink. Bioturbation is real. And it is caused by, it's not just burrowing creatures, plant roots and whatnot can do it too, but like, a lot of it's animals.
Traces that we should be able to see.
We can. Bioturbation is ubiquitous throughout the fossil-bearing strata. It's not literally in every location, but it's all over the place. So I don't know what the problem is here. There's bioturbation all over the place. There should be none,
I guess,
essentially,
yeah,
if the flood is true. Sorry, you just cut out there.
Yeah. I did. Sorry, I messed with my audio settings because I tried to do push to talk and then that didn't work. Oh yeah. So Fits of Rage, a member for 26 months. Something that will get us banned from daycare.
Yeah, don't get banned from daycare.
No. Did I cut out?
I heard banned from daycare.
I refuse to be the reason. I refuse to be the reason that word is introduced to the 3-year-olds.
That's fair. That's fair.
These geologic layers of supposed ecosystems should be filled with evidence of bioturbation.
I mean, they are. It's not in literally every spot, but it's all over the place. And every single instance of bioturbation is evidence against your model, because do you know what floods do characteristically? They erase signs of bioturbation. So if all of this is flood strata, then there should be essentially no bioturbation except at the very highest layers of the flood. But that's not what we see. We see bioturbation all the way in the Cambrian. So what's the deal, Matt? Were these pulses separated by decades worth of bioturbation in some cases? No, you think they were separated by like days. There's too much bioturbation for that. So basically, Ramat's just like, oh, well, there's virtually no bioturbation. I was like, okay, how much is there? He doesn't know. But it's not enough.
Yeah.
Well, basically any amount is too much for his model. So, like, is it more than 0? Yes, it is. So, there you go. Not a flood deposit, then.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yet the evidence is not there, proving that these layers are not even hundreds of years old, let alone millions.
Is just reversing a video clip like Matt's favorite editing technique. 'Cause it's the
Editing
second
technique.
time in a row that he's done that at least. It's a little weird.
As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, there was not
Let's see. Thomas Hurley says, good luck on today's goal. Well, at this pace, I don't think we're going to get it, but I know that Bent would love it if we did. It doesn't seem very likely.
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna very successfully derail today's stream without any help.
Yeah.
So sorry.
enough time between each layer forming for these burrowing creatures to perform this task. You see, if each layer was an ecosystem and represents thousands or millions of years, then the evidence of bioturbation would be everywhere worldwide.
I mean, it's all over the place in the sense that
Yeah.
anywhere you go, you can find bioturbation somewhere, but it's not everywhere in the sense of in every stratum. But
Right. Because similar to fossil, is this considered like a trackway fossil?
So technically, bioturbation could be called an ichthyofossil. It usually isn't because it's usually not distinct enough to actually be classified in any particular way.
Okay.
Because bioturbation is basically the whole sediment just getting mixed around rather than distinct burrows. Distinct burrows are their own ichthyofossils, but that's not the same thing as just general bioturbation.
Okay. So, but like in the sense that things are walking around everywhere there is land, does not mean that every inch of rock everywhere worldwide, it doesn't mean we should expect that to be a trackways fossil, right?
Yeah, or a burrow.
But same thing for like a burrow. It's like just because that's a thing that happens and we can find it everywhere if it happens to be preserved there, doesn't mean that like we would like it's still hard to preserve these things.
Right.
Right.
And also, remember how we talked about erosion features?
Yeah.
Those tend to erode bioturbated layers first because they tend to be higher up in a particular stratum.
Wild.
I know.
But since we see no evidence of burrowing creatures between these layers, this proves two things.
What do you mean, Matt? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Is his claim here that nowhere on Earth, anywhere, is there evidence of bioturbation between rock layers? Because that,
First of all,
I'm
it's
not a geologist, but that can't be right.
not
Like-
actually true, but in many cases, the discontinuity between one stratum and the next covers thousands or millions of years. And what that means is that by the time you start getting deposition above the lower stratum, that first stratum is just rock, Matt. So what's going to dig into the rock to bioturbate it? Do you think that the fossil record is full of like Hortas from Star Trek, where you go down into the mine and you find the weird lava rock monster that can burrow through like dirt and rock like it's water? Is that what you're imagining, Matt? Because like between these contacts, the lower stratum is already generally going to be lithified. So like
That's number
earthworms and such don't dig into solid rock. That's not a thing they do. I'm
I'm being fed dice.
Oh,
like,
how do they taste?
But not as good as the York Mint Patty. 6 or 9, that's a 6.
It proves that these layers were not laid down slowly over long periods of time. And 2, it proves that it was laid down quickly.
This is the 4th time you've shown us this footage, Matt. Please stop. I'm really sick of watching these yellow blobs go up and down in this really low quality upload that you have.
And do you know what I bet everybody would like?
Yeah.
Could you sing a song into the microphone?
And Vishanti just let us know that they are the creatures from Tremors. Okay, now it makes sense. But wait, no.
My bad.
Remember, there was that time when they scared one of the Tremors worms in Tremors into the big rock they were on, and it stunned it. So I don't think even that works. All right, but we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to refresh this martini a little bit, and y'all can, grab whatever snacks or drinks or use a bio break that you need. In the meantime, we're going to get a little bit of Star Trek teaser trailer for what's hopefully this week. Then we'll be back in just a few minutes. So stick with us, everybody, and if you don't, I'll notice. So
That was such good singing.
yay!
Yeah,
We'll be right back.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Next time on Star Trek Endurance.
Navigator's log stardate 60653.6. We are in a part of the Shackleton Expanse that has had numerous ships disappear and experience navigational anomalies. But so far I have not experienced any such problems. Things seem normal here, almost too normal for the Expanse. The only even somewhat interesting navigational hazard is a cluster of stellar remnants that are causing some gravity waves. But I've resolved that with some simple 3D Fourier analysis to resolve the underlying regular waveforms. Yet still we are here on a rescue mission after the Ontario experienced navigation and power problems. I'll have to pay attention to my melon. If what affected them affects us, it will probably happen with little warning.
The Ontario is under attack, but not by any ordinary foe. This enemy is not firing photon torpedoes or energy beams. There have been no hull breaches, and yet the ship is paralyzed. The crew of the Kongzi will have to navigate not just space, but themselves and each other in order to save the Ontario and all the souls on board her. Will they be paralyzed with inaction, or can they overcome the mysterious force which has taken over this region of the Expanse? Find out next time in Play Along, only on the Top Hats Off channel. Okay, I am back. Maddie will be back shortly. So, I want to say thank you for everyone who has been sticking with us. Looks like virtually everyone did. I really do appreciate that. If you are enjoying the show, what I would ask is that you hit like. It is, in fact, pretty important for the YouTube algorithm gods. So please do hit like, share this video, write a comment if you're watching this live. You can write a comment for later. And also, this channel exists almost entirely solely through the support of my viewers. And I really, really appreciate it because I don't know what I would be doing otherwise, honestly. It's not great out there. And so I really appreciate that you guys are allowing me to be a part of your lives and are supporting me in that endeavor as we go. And so if you are someone who is currently not supporting, but you feel like you can afford it and you want to, I suppose, there are a few different ways. Probably the best one is the Patreon. That's where I get to keep the most of your support that you're sending me. It starts at $1 a month. You can get a 15% discount for going annual. Then there's the channel memberships. Channel memberships start at $1.99. There are also higher perks for both of them. Both of them give you early access to videos that are scripted. One just came out today. Both of them give you access to my Discord server. Both of them have higher perks at higher tiers. So yeah, check those out. I also have merch linked below this video. Also, there's an Amazon wish list for both me and Bent if you want to get either of us anything. I always appreciate that. It gives you some happy brain chemical boosts whenever I get something from the Amazon wish list. There's also if you want to help with rendering, there is the way I get my animations done is with a render farm called Sheepit. And the way this works is when I render frames for Sheepit, Sheepit gives me points. When other people render frames for me on Sheepit, Sheepit deducts points from me, and it gives points to them. And so the priority with which my frames are assigned to other renderers depends on how many points I have versus how many points the other people who have frames pending have. And so the more points I have, the more high priority my frames are, which means the faster other people start rendering them when I have them uploaded. Also, if you're rendering for me, and my frames are up there, you'll get my frames as a priority, assuming your computer can handle them. So the way to render for me, as me, to get me points, or to render my frames faster, is there's a link in the description under how to render for me. Go to that link, download the client for Sheepit that is associated with your operating system, and then the login information, there's a login name, as well as a quote-unquote password that's just a key that will allow you to render as me, but not gain access to my account. Put those in as login information, and yeah, your computer will lend some GPU or CPU cycles, depending on what you set, to my Sheepit account, and I'll greatly appreciate that. People rendering for me is a big part of the reason why I am pretty consistently first, second, or third in terms of priority when I upload projects. So, yep. And I like it.
Also, my husband's feeling well enough that he's gonna take point for the next hour.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Sorry. All right.
Chat, did you hear her sing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" that morphed into the alphabet song at the end?
Nope.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Sorry.
It was real cute.
I bet. Also, those are songs that easily morph into each other, given that they have the exact same melody.
Also, when she sings the alphabet song, we skip a lot of letters in the middle.
You know what? Those middle letters, they're dumb. Who needs them?
Who needs them? Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Okay.
During the flood of Noah, when tsunamis were striking rapidly, exactly like the new physical evidence shows.
What new evidence, Matt? What new evidence do you have? Please let me know. This is interesting.
So I love how there's no citations on this slide.
Yeah, no. Because why would he tell you about new evidence and then cite where you could go find such new evidence?
Yeah.
Let's see what we have here. Evidence of death, disease, and destruction. This is what fossils show. I mean, okay, sure. Evidence of rapid burial in a catastrophe. That depends on the fossils. Some of them do, some of them don't. Evidence of death and extinction. Well, I mean, I feel like you already said death, so, like, sure, I guess. Evidence of rapid mass destruction and burial on a global scale in a catastrophe. No, they absolutely do not show that. The fossil sequence order is therefore the order of burial during the flood. Well, maybe if I accepted all of your premises, that would follow, but, like, many of your premises are just fake. Josh Biggies for $5 says, for Baby Girl's Unheard mashup, and we are trying to not put the name in out there, so if we could refrain...
I know I've said it multiple times, but I try not to.
Yeah, it's I get it, and I'm not angry. I don't know if Maddie is.
No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad, dude. But yeah, I try to not say it. Also, Dapper, I need you to know that at least on my page, I can't like the stream because it has exactly 69 likes.
Well, I see it as having 72, so what you should refresh and double check.
Oh, okay. Because if it doesn't have exactly 69, I will like it. Oh, it's got 72. Okay.
There we go.
That was pretty great for a minute there.
All right. So we're gonna hit play.
When we look close at the fossil record, we see layers containing mass fossil graveyards.
Right, but also single solitary individuals as well. Mm-hmm. So, like, Matt, you can't just say that the entire fossil record... Well, I mean, you're going to because you're a liar. Yeah. But it's inaccurate to say that this just characterizes the fossils as a whole. Like, that's just not true.
Yeah.
And mass burial of catastrophic...
Wing for $2 says, not a single phone number cited. Console, we'll take a drink. Oh, yeah, Kenton is citing someone's phone number. If you don't believe me, why don't you call this guy? Here's his phone number.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's ages ago when I did that debate with them. They wanted my full legal name, address, and phone number. And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah. The same thing happened when I tried to set up a doubles debate between me and Erica on one side, and I believe it was going to be Kent and Donnie on the other side.
Oh.
And so I emailed Kent about this, and I get back this weirdly snarky email. It's like, well, we would require your full name and like a phone number where we can reach you, and also we require you to be on camera because Dr. Hovind is going to be on camera. And I'm like, okay, first, no. Second, I don't give two shits if Kent is on camera. It means literally nothing to me. He's not doing me a kindness by putting his ugly mug in front of me.
It would be one thing if you were demanding the other party be on camera while you were not going to be on camera, right? That's one thing. But you're choosing to be on camera, therefore everyone else has to too. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I actually do have a video that was a collaboration between Erica and myself. I believe it's called Kent Hovind is a Coward, in case you want to see what emails were sent and all that stuff. And also, I do appear next to Erica in the same frame outside of my human suit. I am, in fact, my actual real dinosaur self in frame with Erica, which means we had to meet up for this. And she had to set up a camera that could film both of us at the same time. So it was a little bit of a trick, but we managed to pull it off. So for all of you who think that I'm not actually a dinosaur, explain that video. Yeah.
If he wasn't a dinosaur, why would he wear a top hat? That doesn't even make sense.
Exactly. Like, I'm not Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, jeez.
The only other guy who's allowed to wear a top hat.
Yeah. The only other person in history who has ever worn a top hat, actually.
Dinosaurs and Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Proportions. Remember, the flood started in the ocean. This is why we see the fossil record laid out like it is.
So that previous slide, you're just not going to go over that, Matt?
We're not going to go over that.
Okay, cool.
95% of land vertebrate fossils are one bone or less.
Maddie, could you think of a reason why marine invertebrates, or maybe a couple reasons why marine invertebrates might vastly outnumber non-marine vertebrates?
Okay, so first thought, best thought, ocean real big.
Mm-hmm. That's a big part of it.
Right, ocean real big, bigger than not ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 2, life evolved in ocean first.
Mm-hmm.
Right, was there a big long time.
Yep.
Before animals go to land.
Mm-hmm.
So, big space, big time, more fossils.
There's another one you're missing.
Ooh, I missed more than big space, big time?
Yeah. There's also just a lot more invertebrates than there are vertebrates.
Oh.
So if you're just going to sample a population of organisms, you're going to get more invertebrates than vertebrates because they outnumber the vertebrates by a huge margin. So, like, think about it.
This is essentially asking the question, why are there more... isn't it weird that there's a greater number of, like, single-cell organism species than there are multi-cell? It's like, no.
No, it's not.
They've been around longer, and that's easier to evolve, right? Like, that's...
Yep. Plus, just in terms of raw number of them, there's going to be a whole lot more single-cell because they take up a lot less resources and a lot less space.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah. Also, these numbers where we have 95% and 5%, and then that keeps going, I do happen to know where that comes from. It is from a casual conversation that Dwayne Gish had once in the offices of ICR that people took notes on, apparently, and that has just become a common creationist claim. It's like, oh, well, only 5% of the fossils are actually anything other than marine invertebrates. And of that, only 5% of those are even of animals. And of that, only like 5% of them are terrestrial animals. And of that, and they just keep going. And like at no point are there actual numbers that back this up. And here's how I know that. One, I've traced this down with the help of RJ Downard. Nice. 2, there are no studies on the proportion of fossils that come from what, like, taxon, because who would care to do that? How would you get a grant to count up how many fossils of invertebrates versus vertebrates there are? What even counts as one fossil in that circumstance?
Yeah, what would that tell you?
Right.
Right?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. That there's that what that would tell you, right, is that there's more invertebrates than there are vertebrates and have been throughout time,
Right.
which is a
Which
thing
we already know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we don't have to look for other evidence for that.
That would literally be one of those fake studies that, like, the Republicans love to complain about when they're trying to cut science funding. That would actually be one of those. If that were the kind of study that was going on, I would be all for cutting that funding, Matt.
Yeah, I would love to cut that particular bit of funding, please and thank you. Wait, I thought of something I wanted to say. Oh, this is like the like, well, only 5% are this, blah 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 blah, which is kind of like small number, therefore God.
Yeah, a little bit.
But sometimes they do small number, therefore God, or small number, therefore doesn't exist, right? Therefore, small number, therefore not real. And that makes me feel a little bit like, because you hear that often mostly with like trans folks, right? Well, they're only 1% of the population, right? It's like, by that argument, like, therefore not real. And then by that argument, we can't possibly exist because we're made of mostly not hydrogen, right? And the universe is 99% hydrogen, so how can we possibly exist?
I would also like to counter that particular argument. Well, trans people only make up a vanishingly small percentage of the population with, hey, you personally make up an even smaller proportion of the population, so let's take away your rights first.
Your rights in particular.
Yeah, you specifically. Yeah. You're an even smaller minority. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
If that's what it means, if just any small portion of the population doesn't get to have legal protections for who they are, neither do you as a particular individual, buddy.
Yeah, I do actually like to respond to that with, because roughly speaking, the percentage of people who have red hair is about the same percentage as folks who are trans, or
oh well, I mean, we absolutely should take the rights away from gingers. I mean, they don't even have souls.
Like, yeah, they don't have souls. So yeah, but like that context has actually helped a lot of people. So listen, guys, I live in the reddest state in the union, right? And I know a lot of people who are like,
yes,
I want to say like better than their talking points, right?
Okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
Right, and so like they hear these talking points and don't hear a dissenting view, right? But I know them to be like kind, welcoming people, right? And so they're in this weird thing where they're like, feel like they're being told they're supposed to be scared of something, but feel icky about that, but also have themselves like never met a trans person, right? Or don't know that they have, right? Like, and so that framework of they're about as common as people with red hair, right? Actually helps them a lot,
that
right?
Makes sense.
Of the context of, oh, okay, this is a group of people, right? It's not.
It's a relatively small group of people, but it's not a vanishingly small, you'll never encounter one kind of thing.
Right. Though, to be honest, most even super right-wing people that I know, they're like, why do we care so much about like trans athletes? There's like 2 of them at the collegiate level, right? Like, that doesn't feel like something we should legislate. And I'll take that kind of like, listen, trans rights. We love trans rights. I will take, what's the phrase? Benign
neglect.
Benign negligence. Yeah. There we go. Just like I don't actually want to legislate anything about you in particular, right? Like,
yeah, I'm not going to actively harm you, even if I'm not going to lift a finger to help. Would be better than active oppression.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing I was trying to say.
Yep. Let's see. Petite Flower for $5 says, big space, big time, little creatures, and many creatures. Yep. And then we've just got a mess of trans flags, which I appreciate. So
I do appreciate that. Trans rights friends.
Yep. You know,
Left-handed Ginger is a streamer named DM Wayne.
Last time I was streaming sorry.
This has been a really rough bedtime, so I'm just ignoring the drinking rules and finishing my beer.
Last stream, my newest sister-in-law was watching, and she sent me a Trans Lives Matter picture on my phone while she was watching, and I really appreciated that. So, I appreciate that.
Good job, Dapper's newest sister-in-law.
Exactly. And given where she lives, I wasn't sure about that. So
Yeah.
because she lives in a state that is also very, very, very red.
With bottom-dwelling ocean life on the bottom and higher land animals on top.
Yeah, but Matt, there's also bottom-dwelling ocean creatures up top. Is part of the problem, right? We have Cretaceous clams and sharks and crabs and sea turtles and whatnot. And if we assume that the Cretaceous is the end of the flood, which is a pretty typical young Earth creationist thing, were they mountain clams? Were they alpine clams that just clamber up mountains looking to eat whatever it is a mountain clam eats? Is that how that worked? Because it seems like it would have to be under this version of this.
This is why we also find fossilized trilobite trails in layers supposedly millions of years older than the actual trilobite that made the trail.
I am going to think about it, Matt. Thank you. Thank you for that meme, because I am going to think about it. In fact, I'm going to take a drink.
Yeah.
Say cheers, because you know what? You're right. I'm going to think about it.
Yeah. Also, can you back it up like a second? I wanted to comment on his slide and why it's bad. Okay. Okay. So, just in a how to make young Earth creationist arguments better than how they make them, right? You're missing the therefore what, to quote Dr. Josh Bowen, you're missing the so what. Okay, so there are massive fossil graveyards. These cover about 3/4 of the Earth's surface. Let's assume that's true, right? Therefore what? Why does that point to a flood, right? Why does that point to a flood at the exclusion of deep time, right?
Yeah, that's the real key. How are you excluding deep time with these observations?
Yeah, so why is a single event 4,000 years ago a better explanation, right, than this happened slowly over time, right? As much as 40,000 feet thick, same question, right? Why does that suggest that a flood occurred, that these were all buried together in a flood 4,000 years ago, right? Right? And then without rapid burial, they could not have been fossilized.
Which depends on what you mean by rapid and how fast decay happens, but broadly speaking, that's accurate.
Yeah, and so rapid is not a precise term, right? That's not a scientific term. If you see it used in science, you need to know what field you're in, because if I, as a meteorologist, say that storm system is moving in rapidly, I mean that it's going to be on your doorstep in probably 30 minutes or less, right? If a geologist says that that continental plate is moving rapidly, they probably mean it's moving 3 millimeters a year instead of 1.
Basically, the difference between how fast your fingernails grow versus 1.3 times as fast as your fingernails grow.
Right. So rapidly means very different things in very different fields of science. Different fields of science work on widely different timescales, and you have to know which one you're talking about, what context you're in for the word rapid to make sense. So rapid burial in terms of fossilization just means that the rate of burial needs to exceed the rate of decomposition, or the rate that it would be scavenged and eaten, right? And that varies, but we're talking about, because in a desert, that could be a while. And then the last point on there was,
oh, I moved on. Sorry.
I already forgot it. You moved on. I can't make my last point. There we go. There is no mechanism in the present forming massive fossil graveyards. I would like to point you to landslides.
Yeah.
Right?
And volcanoes.
Right? So
submarine slumps.
Yeah. So of those 4 statements, only the 4th one was objectively untrue. The other 3 are just, they don't mean anything in a scientific context, right? They don't support the idea of a global flood 4,000 years ago at the exclusion of deep time, unless you already believe in the Noah's flood story.
Right. So we're also
Right.
going to talk about why we this is actually a thing that happens with a lot of groups. Why we find ichnofossils belonging to a taxon before we find body fossils. It's actually not that hard to figure out. Maddie, how many steps have you taken?
In my lifetime?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say in my lifetime I've probably averaged 3,000 to 5,000 steps a day. Let's do 5 because that's better, easier math.
Okay.
Times 5,000 times 365 times 35, right? Like, lots.
How many bodies do you have?
One.
One. Okay, so if we had to get a statistical guess as to whether you'd be more likely to leave behind a body fossil or a footprint fossil a million years from now, what do you think, on average, for like just the average human?
I've definitely stepped in mud more often than I've died, because I've died 0 times.
So far.
Yeah.
Games don't count.
That's true.
Okay. So that's basically it. Is any given organism is going to have a lot more chances for an ichthyofossil than a body fossil. The reason you don't hear a lot about ichnofossils is because they're actually pretty common, and most of the time they're just like, yeah, okay, there's our like 12,000th like sauropod print of this particular kind. Okay, that's, I mean, it's cool, but like not hitting the news anytime soon. So
it's like finding megalodon tooth, right?
It's cool. There's so many.
It's cool. I'd like to have one, but it's not an astonishing scientific find because they're so common.
That's why no one cares when you sell them.
Yeah. It's almost like finding an arrowhead in the Arkansas River out here, right? You can just walk down the Arkansas River and you'll find arrowheads.
Yep. So that's why ichnofossils for particular taxon tend to precede body fossils. And that's going to be the case throughout. But you know what is really, really bad at preserving footprints at all, Maddie?
Ooh, a flood.
Yep. In fact, it's impossible.
Can't actually walk on water, and if I could, my footprints wouldn't be preserved.
Right. And if you have a bunch of soft sediment with a footprint, and then a bunch of more soft sediment falls on top of it, you know what happens to that footprint? Yeah, it's just gone. It's just gone. So, Matt, the very fact that we have preserved trilobite footprints is a problem for the flood. So yeah, I'm going to take another drink for just how stupid all of it.
I think that's a really good idea, actually.
Oh, I forgot I muted
All that happened were these trilobites were running up as the mud was flowing in.
Okay, Matt. There's something called a paleocline, right? Which tells you which direction a slope is facing in the ancient past. We can actually determine this. Have you done any studies to indicate that there is a strong preference for uphill travel among trilobite ichnofossils? The answer is no. I know you haven't, because no one has, as far as I can tell, because that would be reported on. And also, if someone had, you'd be telling us about it constantly. So, Matt, unless you have a citation to indicate that we have evidence that ichnofossils tend to have a preference for going uphill, I don't believe you.
Also, Tippleward makes a really good point. Oh, those are some fast trilobites.
Yeah, right? Jeez.
Wave after wave from the tsunami, and they were leaving behind their prints as they died in the higher levels.
But Matt, you just showed us a thing that would erase all those prints when the new sediment came and bury the trilobite that then had to crawl out. That would erase the previous footprints. Jeez, this is bad. I will say that is a nice little trilobite he's got there with the antennae that come out from under the shell, which is accurate. It should probably have some circi, which are basically antennae for the butt. But like that's fine, whatever. They weren't very prominent in all species of trilobites. The legs should probably be more obviously biramous, but like whatever. As trilobite animations go, I've seen worse, so I'll take it.
Okay.
Players, not able to outrun the mud. And this is down the line. We find fossil bird prints before we find fossils of birds. We find fossil
prints. Why do you think that might be, good sir?
Could it be because birds leave a lot more footprints than they do bodies? Per individual bird? Yeah. It could be. It could be. Now, to be fair to trilobites, they actually can produce more body fossils than they have bodies because their permineralized exoskeletons are shed periodically. And so,
Ooh, that's cool.
but also, at some point, they had to have evolved the permineralized parts. And before that, they would have had all biomaterial for their shells, which would not preserve on basically every shed. Which would still mean that we should expect that their tracks should precede their shells, because again, they evolved legs before they evolved biomineralization.
It also, okay. I think so. I'm having a little trouble with Ramat's rhetoric here, because I'm trying to do the thing where I'm parsing what he's actually saying instead of what
so
would
what
make
he's saying
sense.
is these populations of organisms are running uphill
Right.
before the
I'm
flood
questioning
overtakes
his use
them.
of the word before. That's what's I'm
Okay, so
questioning.
he's mentioning these tsunamis, right, are coming in.
Mhm.
Then a bird is like, oh no, a tsunami, which by the way, at least on the right, that's not a bird, that's a non-avian dinosaur track, but whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, a flood, I should run up this hill or this mountain or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they're leaving footprints as they do that. But then eventually the tsunamis catch up with them because they're slower than the tsunamis. And so you get a bird buried in a tsunami deposit up above where its tracks were.
Okay.
Which would also imply that what we should find in the fossil record is tracks typically going uphill, which has no evidence for, and also typically ending in a body fossil, which also isn't true. Now, we do have a few trackways that end in a body fossil, but they're so astonishingly rare that they do actually tend to make the news. One of a trilobite was found not that long ago, where there was a track, and then it ended in a trilobite fossil, and we're like, oh, so this trilobite walked into its death. And we actually think that it was going downhill, and it reached a low oxygen layer of water, and that's why it died.
Okay. So, but I think in his mind, we're picturing going up a mountain, right?
Yeah, some kind of elevation change.
Yeah, and we should see like trackway body fossil, right? So there should be an elevation, not a layer, right? There should be an elevation below which we don't find body fossils, right?
I guess it would depend on how low that organism started, how fast the waves were, and how fast the organism was. But overall, yeah. That's broadly accurate.
That's what it sounds like he's saying, and I'm not sure he realizes how nonsensical that is.
Yeah, and also how much that isn't what we find when we find fossil trackways.
Right, and so it like layers below is vertically below.
Right, it's not sloping away.
Right, not up and away. Right, it's this and not this.
Right. Oh, yeah. And looks like Jillian Wren is taking off for the night. Good night, Jillian Wren.
Good night, Jillian.
So dinosaurs before we find dinosaurs.
That one I'm actually not so sure of, because one of the problems is that telling the difference between like an actual true dinosaur trackway versus like a dinosauromorph or dinosauriform trackway is virtually impossible, because the arrangement of dinosaur feet is established pretty on in the evolution of like ornithodyrans, right? You don't have to get far on to like the pterosaur dinosaur split before you're on dinosaur side animals that aren't dinosaurs but still have feet that look like they could be dinosaur. They might not have all the exact ankle bones in all the right places and all the right little like, you know, the right shape for all the various, you know, protuberances on their bones and the right divots in the skull. But like, if you just look at the footprints, you're like, well, I don't know how I would tell that that's not a dinosaur. So
trackways can tell you about. You can tell the difference between a quadruped and a worm, but
and in many cases you can actually get much more narrowed down, but you have to know about what was around at the time. And so like there's going to be a thing where like, okay, well, is this a dinosaur print or is it a dinosauromorph print? And the answer is I probably can't tell. Probably can't. Unless you have body fossils that you can associate with those. But in some cases we don't. Like, for instance, basically the entire eastern half of North America, virtually no dinosaur body fossils, but lots of dinosaur trackways. And so most of the dinosaur diversity that we know from like the Cretaceous of eastern North America comes from fossil trackways.
Question: are the environments that are ideal for preserving trackways different than the environments that are ideal for preserving body fossils?
Yes. Tracks have to remain uncovered and they have to dry out. Whereas if you do that with a body, that's probably just going to get eaten by scavengers and disassociated. There are actually some tracks right now in, I believe, California that are human tracks that have been there for well over 100 years and are probably in the process of turning into human ichnofossils.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, in fact, when I say they're probably hundreds of years, we don't actually know exactly how old they are. They're just a bunch of tracks out in Death Valley. And what's going to disturb those tracks in Death Valley? Probably nothing. I mean, I'm not going to go out there. I like
Death Valley.
I like hot weather, but like even I have my limits. And when they're like, "Oh yeah, the temperature today is 55 degrees Celsius," I'm just like, you know what? I don't need that.
Yeah, it's not called Happy Fun Time Valley.
Yeah, it's called Death Valley for a reason.
Yeah, it's not.
Here are fossil footprints of an amphibian, but the only date they find amphibian fossils in are 15 million years later.
Matt, you know what would be great is if you gave me a source for that picture on the left. I don't really need a source for the picture on the right because, like, whatever, you're just using it as an illustration of a generic amphibian. Okay, but like, okay, I'm gonna take a drink because I actually do recognize these fossil footprints. We're gonna talk about that for a second.
Of course you do. I like the half a lifesaver pack. That's for scale. That's pretty good.
Right. Okay, so these are from the Coconino Sandstone, which is a sandstone that is found in the Grand Canyon as well as across lots of the Western United. Here's the problem with this. It's a desert deposit, and one of the ways that you can tell is that in the same layer that preserves these footprints, which were obviously made in wet sediment, you can tell, right? We also have preserved raindrops. You know what happens if raindrops fall on the water that's a part of a flood? They hit the water and they just merge with the flood water. They don't make a drop at the bottom, right? That's not how it works. So, like, we know this isn't a flood deposit because in addition to having the characteristics of desert deposition, when we do get prints in it, it has evidence of being exposed to the air, but under rainfall. And we're like, well, I thought it was a desert. Yeah, it rains in the desert.
It sure does.
In fact, it rained for like 3 days here not that long ago, and it was miserable, and I hated it. Although we still only get, I think we get on average 11 inches of rain annually.
Okay.
Which is not much, but it's not none.
I want to know how much precipitation Antarctica gets annually.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's way less than 11 inches.
Yeah.
Higher up in the fossil record. Think about it. Trilobites, coral, clams, brachiopods.
Ramat, if you tell me that you have coral prints, I will throw something. Coral do not leave prints. They are sessile organisms. They don't walk. If you tell me we have coral prints, jeez, I am going to lose it. Previous for $5 says, Dapper the Paleontologist. This is also Mothra. Thank you.
Yeah. See, Antarctica gets 6.5 inches per year of precip on average.
Not even half of what I get. Which just goes to show you that how dry Antarctica is, but also, I very much live in a desert.
And
I
love people's like, but there's snow in Antarctica. Right, it never gets above freezing. It doesn't go anywhere. Where does it go?
Who's shoveling the snow in Antarctica? Tell me, who?
Yeah, who?
Also, I gotta say, everyone calls me a linguist. No one calls me a paleontologist, but I probably talk about paleontology more than I talk about linguistics.
But you seem to like talking about linguistics more than you like talking about paleontology.
It's just I don't get to do it as much.
Well, I don't know, because it feels like whenever you get to talk about linguistics, it's generally something that's fun for you, right? Versus a lot of your paleontology knowledge to be out of necessity to combat the dumb.
That might be true. Also, I feel like you just unplugged the mic.
I probably did.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Because it sounds like you did before, but there was like a weird bit where like your sound volume went way lower and the quality changed weirdly. So like I was like, I think you might have unplugged something.
I've like accidentally ripped the cord out of this Yeti so many times that it just falls out sometimes.
Oh my goodness, the Dutch Tunicate official says the South Pole Station gets 0.3 inches of precipitation annually. Jeez, that's so little. None.
That's so little.
All right, here we go.
Odds, they would be the first to die because they can't escape.
Okay, I'm glad that you didn't say that you had coral tracks, because I thought that's where you were going, Matt.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you didn't say that, because I was ready. And I'm not going to point out that it's escape and not escape. We're just going to leave that one alone. Fine. I don't care.
It's fine.
For example, when we go to the Grand Canyon.
Okay, a place I've been to a few times. Got it.
Yeah.
And we look at fossil stromatolites.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Are there stromatolites in the Grand Canyon? I don't remember hearing about stromatolites in the Grand Canyon.
What is a stromatolite?
So a stromatolite is what's left over after a colony of photosynthetic bacteria deposit minerals below themselves as they grow up towards the sunlight over years to decades.
Okay.
So it's some of our oldest fossils are stromatolites.
Okay, cool.
Okay, well, it is an autocomplete option. All right, fossils. This is the National Park Service. And they're telling me that the water is off at Phantom Ranch and Bright Angel Campground. So if you're there, careful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, we do have stromatolites. All right. Cool. Fair enough. I guess are they below the Bright Angel Shale? I guess they are, yeah. Huh. I didn't think we had a whole lot of fossils that were much lower than Bright Angel. Or the Tapetes. Okay, cool. Hey, you learn something every day. And you know what? I'll take a drink. Ramat, you made me look something up, and now I know something I didn't know before. Thank you very much, Ramat. I appreciate it. Because it was one of those things where I was like, I'm not aware of this, but like, it doesn't strike me as impossible. So let's find out.
Let's find out.
They're in the layers below the flood rocks.
Okay, stromatolite fossil reef is... Okay, so those rocks are supposed to be a stromatolite reef. I don't know that that's true, but it's not impossible.
Okay.
So we are not surprised to find that some of the domes are stacked up in a linear structure that look like a reef.
Why?
Well, yeah, they would follow the shoreline because they have an optimal growth depth, and that would follow the shoreline roughly.
Okay, but here's the thing. He said these are pre-flood, so therefore we're not surprised that they follow a line as a like how I don't understand how B follows from A.
So I think what he's saying is that because that means that they're preserved as they grew in situ, which would have been in a roughly linear structure.
Okay, gotcha.
Which
sorry, I was like, I don't see how that follows.
Yeah, I'll say that that's not that's fine by me, right? If you're like, okay, these grew before the flood and they were buried before the flood, and so they're preserved in situ, like, okay, that doesn't seem crazy to me. I'll allow it. Also, Primordial Puggles for $10 dues sends a Shiba Inu with a heart sticker. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. It's also really cute. I like that one. The tail wags, and that's adorable.
But he's also then saying that before the flood, the oceans came up to the Grand Canyon.
Yep. Yep, he is.
That's not what he said earlier.
Nope.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So in the midst of doing one of his more reasonable takes, it contradicts his previous takes because, again, Ramat operates on flat earther logic, where you don't ever have to worry about how your entire model fits together at the same time. You only ever worry about things in isolation, and you never connect them in a grand picture.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess, hold on, I have to look at a picture of Pangea, because I do think he's okay with, like, the idea that we were Pangea.
Well, at the time of Pangea, most of Arizona was underwater. In an ocean.
Okay. No, I just need to know what he thinks it looks like.
Well, that's another problem, is that his description implies that the coasts are, like, no longer where they were, but also, like, the land expanded in some areas. It's not clear to me what he thinks is actually happening to them.
Okay.
Matt, if you could draw a map of your pre-flood world, it doesn't have to be exact, right?
So
but like
helpful.
a rough map. and then roughly like which parts are which parts of the modern world. Like just label like North America with like a little blobby shape, South America with a different blobby shape, Eurasia with a different blobby shape, Africa, India, Antarctica, and just blobby shapes, and then like tell us roughly what's going on there. I would really appreciate that.
I would really appreciate it because I can't follow with the big picture. I'm having trouble.
Well, it's because Raw Matt doesn't have a big picture.
That's true. I mean, it might also be because I guess I can't hear Peppa Pig right now, so that is helping.
Okay.
There was an ancient reef system that made these slime mats, building these domes
those are still living stromatolites in, I believe it's Shark Bay, Australia.
Cool.
So yeah, there's stromatolites are still going. They're not nearly as common as they used to be, but you can still find them growing in places. And they're one of the parts of Australian wildlife that, as far as I know, is not trying to.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's nice of them.
Yeah,
it's nice to take a break from that.
Yeah, there are some organisms in Australia that are not trying to kill you. It does happen occasionally. I mean,
I distinctly remember watching a nature documentary as a kid that was like the 10 most deadliest snakes in the world, and they were all in Australia. And I was like,
I mean, the black mamba is in Africa, and that's a pretty damn deadly snake.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be misremembering because I was like 9 and a little traumatized by it.
Then again,
so.
I do believe the boomslang is Australian, and that is like, it will kill you before you even realized it was there. Because they are lightning fast and they're very, very deadly.
Oh, and the females are brown, which is mean.
Why is that mean? That seems pretty typical.
Well, but the males are bright green, so that seems like that's easier to see to avoid. But a brown snake on the ground is
they live in trees.
Oh, okay, that's helpful.
Yeah. If you're looking at the ground for a boomslang, you're looking in the wrong place. They are very arboreal snakes.
Okay.
Oh, is it South Africa for boomslangs? Okay.
Boomslang in South Africa. Okay.
Look, I do not know where every snake lives, but I do know there are some absurdly dangerous snakes in Africa.
I do remember as a child also making sure I knew how to avoid dying if a like boa constrictor was going to eat you.
Very important information.
That felt like really necessary information, as important as
how to get out of quicksand.
How to get out of quicksand.
Yeah. When you're growing up in like the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s as a kid, you were very aware that you could step in quicksand at any time.
Anytime.
I have never actually done it, but you never know.
Okay, but when I was a small child, one of my older sister's friends convinced me that there was a pile of quicksand at the base of this slide on the playground at church.
Of course.
And she knew it was there because she found she kept finding kids' shoes in it. From when it killed them.
Of course it did.
And that's what your older sister's friends tell you at sleepovers.
Yeah, no, that checks out. That checks out.
Right, yeah, that checks out.
Grievous for $2 says, so what you're saying is drop snakes. Yeah, basically, I am saying drop snakes.
Oh, man. Yep. That's way scarier than drop bears.
What's more real?
Yeah, therefore, scarier.
Right.
Come on, keep up.
Protected a lagoon near the coast of the pre-flood continent, similar to how they do today. When the flood came, it buried that pre-flood reef and fossilized it perfectly.
Okay, so the initial tsunami was nice and gentle, but the subsequent tsunamis were violent blenders that ground primate bones to dust.
Right, and didn't actually, none of that energy transmitted very far down.
Right, or is evident in the actual, like, sediment at all.
And it was so violent that it actually left no evidence of what it did.
Oh.
Wild.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take a drink because for one, that's very dumb, and also I really like this gin.
Ooh, how is your martini? Does it taste good?
Oh, it's very good. Every time I have a martini, I remember that I have forgotten how good martinis are. Why did I ever drink anything else? And then the next morning, I remember why I drink other things besides martinis.
I see. For Hendrick's gin, I really like a gimlet with Hendrick's.
I don't have enough lime for that. I did think about it. I also don't have enough simple syrup. I don't want to make any. Primordial Puggles, who's been a member for 2 months, says, "Thank you, Dapper." Well, thank you. I mean, I should thank you guys more than you guys need to thank. You guys are the ones who make it possible for me to do this ridiculousness that I still have not managed to explain to my parents as a gig. Yeah. I remember my mom was like, "I don't understand how you make money." I was like, "I could try to explain it, Mom, but like, just trust that I do, and it's fine. You don't have to get it." And she was like, "Okay." And like, I'm not saying my mom's dumb. She's very much not dumb, but like, clearly,
this is not a job that existed when she was young.
The entire idea that like you would like get money in very small denominations from like people across the globe who just like the stuff you do online, completely foreign to her.
Yeah.
Like, that is just not a real thing, apparently.
Yeah.
Let's see. Admiral Snappy Turtle, who's pet snapping turtle I've seen. Very adorable.
Oh, so cool.
Can we get the mini human to do more shoutouts of us turtles and take a drink for Godzilla? Well, I think the mini human is currently unconscious.
Hopefully, man.
Hopefully, right.
But she was so excited by all the turtle emojis. And so, in the past, when I've taken her, when she won't fall asleep, she's joined me to play dice with my friends, right? She showed up on a couple Top Hats Off streams, and rolls, steals all my dice, and it's great. So, 1, she was confused why we weren't rolling dice, and 2, she was also confused as to why she couldn't see anyone else's face. So she really wanted to see chat's faces, right? She's like, "Where are your friends?" And I had to tell her, "Well, they're there. They're writing in chat." And then you guys sent her the turtles, and she was like, "Turn it off!"
Pegajace, the Darwin mythicist, for $2 says, "Are YouTubers modern street buskers?" I mean, to some extent, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously a different kind of like performance, and it's a very different kind of audience. But yeah, it's not far off from being accurate.
It's I think it's somewhere between like street busker. You're like a busker radio host is the closest.
Yeah, that is not that far off.
Thing. Yeah.
And then some of us actually do take commercial breaks.
Yep.
All right, well, we are getting to the point where we are about time to wrap up here. So, Maddie, what do you have that you want other people to know about before we get out of here?
I want everybody to know that I'll be playing as Lieutenant Commander Gloriana Dulas this Friday at an hour before the stream started in your time, wherever you are.
5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. And on Top Hats Off for Star Trek. And that's going to be super fun. And I would also like everybody to know that I sometimes commission Dapper to make maps for OK Roll and some of my other projects. He got one of them back to me today for a right.
No, Maddie, you cut out. Someone got back to you for what?
You got back the map to me for Scots and Cats.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yes, and then you can actually play test that over on Top Hats Off with my crappy hand-drawn map that Dapper made. Not crappy. He made it good, in fact.
So many sheep.
And I'm going to release that very soon on Infinite Stories is what I'm going to release it on, which is I'll plug Infinite Stories. It's a new TTRPG specific and leaning into D&D. That their slogan is easy as AI, entirely by humans. So if you need an image, did I cut out again?
You said, so if you make an image and then you asked if
okay, so if you need an image for your goth tiefling sorcerer, right? You can put that into the search engine there and find art made by a human, right? And there's ways where you can get it for free and that human artist is still getting paid, which is super cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they're still in pre-production because when they had their soft open back in the summer, they realized they did not have nearly enough server space because they're like, this is going to crash the second we open because people are excited about it. So they're thinking they're going to actually release soon. When I was at DMU, we got some like early access to it, which was really cool. And so I've been encouraged to release Scots and Cats over there. So I'm really excited for that.
Nice.
So, yeah, so I'll
Yeah.
announce that once that's actually released. But I just have to do the final like copy edit, and it's good to go now that
So-
I have the super cool map. So
Oh, okay, so a couple things. One, Prixie Purple for $5 says, so you make videos and give them away for free, then people pay you for it? I'm still confused. And yeah, that is more or less what happens. So I gotta say, making that map, the sheep actually, I had a solution, I had a problem that I needed to solve, and the sheep were the problem, which is, okay, so normally when I'm gonna scatter a bunch of things like sheep in a location, I just randomize their rotation. But sheep do not have random rotation. Their rotation is dependent on the rotation of the other sheep around them, because they all tend to face the same way because they're herd animals, right? But I didn't want to just have a static orientation for all the sheep because they don't perfectly match the orientation of the sheep around them. So I had to say, okay, how can I have a rotation for the sheep where they're similar to the sheep around them, but the overall spread of sheep across the entire sheep pen has more or less random rotation within that constraint? And so what I did was I set up a noise function that goes from 0 to 1 across the x and y axes, right? And then I took that and I multiplied it by 2 pi so that I could convert it to radians. So now we're going from 0 to full 2 pi radians. And then I set that as the z rotation, which means that because it's Perlin noise, any 2 points near each other will have a similar value, but overall it's random across the entire spread of the thing. And that got me the herding behavior on those static sheep with Perlin noise driving to radians to the z rotation on some sheep. I'm very happy with myself.
You should be. You also developed a random village generator.
I did do that as well, yes.
Which I really think you should release for sale as a tool.
I would need to probably get better village houses because these are designed only to be seen from the top down.
True.
So there is that. But yeah, I did make a system where basically what it does is it takes a grid and then it randomly deletes some of those grid faces. Then it nudges a lot of the points around a little bit on, the horizontal axes. And then it spawns a house of a random size on top of each grid point. And then it randomly assigns some of the edges on top of each grid face. Sorry. And then it randomly assigns some of the edges on the grid to be roads. And then, you can tweak it manually later. But yeah, I made a random village generator. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, we're not here to talk about random village generators, even if they are cool. We are here to talk about what's coming up next on the channel for me. So on Thursday, we've got a new video coming out. It is going to be, let me double check because I don't remember off the top of my head because I have a lot of videos. Let's see. It is going to be Catholic Geocentrism Depends on Bad Philosophy. So yeah, that is going to be the video on Thursday, and that is at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. After that, I do believe I am supposed to be going on to, I think, Katie Lewis's channel, although I do need her to get back to me to make sure that everything is all set up for that, but I believe that should be 4 p.m. EST. So, and we're actually going to talk about or she's going to tell me about weird Tradcath pseudoscience takes, and I'm going to respond to that. Oh, and I just realized I've messed up the situation here. Sorry about that. I'll take that as a Dapper's professional.
Cheers. I'm gonna finish my beer.
That's fair. That's fair. Then, on Friday, like Maddie said, we've got Star Trek Endurance coming up. It's our Star Trek Adventures actual play, where we roll dice, well, virtual dice. And we act out Star Trek scenarios. So you saw the teaser trailer for that earlier today. Then on Saturday, I will be back with Kip and Vishanti, presumably, to do more of our AI bros trying to disprove evolution by not understanding evolution, which is just the greatest way to debunk anything, is to just not understand it at the most basic level. So there we go. After this, I'm going to be heading over to the general voice chat over on my Discord, and we're going to be watching Godzilla King of the Monsters. It is 2 hours and 11 minutes, so, I don't know, bring a snack, maybe bring a beverage. It's going to be a little bit. But that is the plan. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all the support. Remember, check out the Patreon, check out the memberships. All those things really help. And furthermore, ICE, who were a bunch of fucking murderous Nazi Gestapo, should be abolished at best. And I'm not gonna say what should happen at worst, but you can imagine. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bentovend, Tapioca Weasel, Sphincter of Doom, Regios, Landon Knoll, Ian Chen, Elleron Teller, Philgevara, Kelvin Brostic van Manen, David Hercules, Joshua Geese, Dan Sheedy, Pegajace, The Plastic Mouse, Arrow Dodger, Gordon Love Science, Trixie Purple, Agricola Sequa, S. Kenneth Swenson, Edwin M., Lance Hall, and John Ackerman. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 15% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.